Hello, friends. Welcome to today's horror story. So, let's begin today's tale without any delay. The rain had not stopped all day. In the small town of Willow Creek, the sky was a sheet of dark grey, pressing down on the narrow streets and old brick house. The kind of weather that made you feel like the whole town was holding its breath. Emily Carter sat cross legged on her living room floor, scrolling through her phone. She had just turned 17 and was counting the days until she could finally leave his boring place for college. Her mom, Karen, was upstairs unpacking boxes from her late aunt's house. Emily had not been close to Aunt Margaret. She was the kind of strange, distant relative everyone avoided at family gatherings. When her aunt died, the lawyer said most of her possessions were not of much value. Still, Karen brought home several boxes from her old Victorian style house on the edge of town. The boxes had been sitting in the attic for weeks. Today, with the rain trapping them indoors, Karen finally decided to go through them. Emily barely looked up when she heard her mom coming down the stairs. Karen's voice broke the quiet. Emily, come here. You have to say this. Emily sighed, slid her phone into her pocket, and followed her mom to the dining table. A single box sat there, lid open, lined with yellowing newspaper. Inside, wrapped in filleted froth cloth, was a doll. It was not like the doll Emily had seen in a store. This one was about 2 feet tall, made of cracked porcelain, with glassy dark eyes that seemed almost wet. The face was pale, but the lips were painted a deep, unsettling shade of red. Its black hair was tinted and matted, like it had been wet and left to dry in the wind. It wore a fairly red dress with a lake and the sleeve, though the barrack looked stiff and stained in place. Attached to the doll's wrist was a small tag, bristled with age, in neat handwriting, faded but still legible. Were two words: Labubu Doll. Emily frowned. What's a Labubu doll? Karen shook her head. No idea. Probably just some weird name you ain't come up with. She collected strange things, remembered the masks in her hallway. Emily nodded but kept staring at the doll. There was something off about its eyes. The glass was not clear but clouded. It was holding moisture inside. Creepy, Emily muttered, stepping back. Karen laughed softly. Well, we can put in the attic with the rest of junk. But when she tried to place the doll back in box, Karen froze. The doll's head, heavily from the sides, tilted the one side with a faint click and its lip parted with slightly. Emily swore she saw the jaw move. Her chest tightened. Did you see that? Karen looked puzzled. See what? Emily's eyes darted to the doll. It was still again. Never mind, she said quickly. That night, the rain turned into a heavy storm. Wind rented the window and thunder rolled over the hills. Emily lay in bed scrolling on her phone when she heard something faint, a soft thud, followed by a dragging sound. It was coming from the attic directly above her room. She tried to ignore it. Houses made noises in storm all the time. But then came a second sound, sharp, tap tap tap, like knocking against wood. Emily sat up, hers breathing faster. She grabbed her hoodie, slid on it, and stepped into the hallway. The light from her phone was her only guide as she made her way to the attic ladder. She hesitated before pulling it down. The ladder cracked. Warm, dusty air drifted down. She climbed halfway, enough to peek inside. Her phone's light swept across boxes and old furniture and stopped on the Labubu doll. It was not where her mom had left it earlier. It was sitting in the center of the attic floor, facing the ladder. Its head was tilted up and its eyes seemed to glint in the beam of light. Emily swallowed hard. Mom! She called. No answer. She climbed the rest of the way in, keeping her eyes on the doll. It did not move. But when she bent down, she noticed something, a thin trail of water leading from the box where it had been, strange to where it now saw. The water was fresh, cold. She touched it with her finger, then instantly wishes she had not. It smelled faintly metallic, like rust or blood. Her skin prinkled. She picked up the doll and shoved it back into the box, wrapping it in the floor cloth without looking back. She climbed down, shoved the ladder up, and locked her room. Emily barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the doll wet eyes staring back. Around 3:15 a.m., a loud thud jolted her awake. This time it came from downstairs. She grabbed a flashlight and crept to the living room. Her mom was asleep on the couch, TV still on, everything looked normal until Emily saw the box on the floor. The lid was off, the cloth was crumpled beside it. The doll was gone. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She spun around, scanning the room. Then she saw it in the corner by the window, half in shadow. It was standing. Its tiny ponytail feet were planted firmly on the carpet, dress swaying slightly as if it had just moved. Emily's hand shook so badly the flashlight beam jittered across the wall. The doll's head turned slow toward her, and then, in the quiet of the storm, Emily heard it. A whisper, faint and broke, in a voice that was not human. Labubu is hungry. The next morning, the storm was gone, but the air inside the house felt heavy, like it was holding something invisible. Emily sat at the kitchen table, barely touching her carrel across her hair. Karen sipped coffee, scrolling through her tablet. Emily wanted to tell her mom everything about the attic, the water, the whisper. But she knew how it would sound crazy. Instead, she asked, do you believe like things can be haunted? Karen looked up, one eyebrow raised. You mean ghost? Not just ghost, object, like a doll. Karen smirked. Someone been watching too many horror movies. She set her mug down. Honey, your aunt was erotic, but she did not leave us a curious toy. Emily bit her lip if only she knew. That afternoon, Karen had to leave for a work meeting in the city. I will be back late, she told Emily. Lock the doors. By 6 p.m., the house was quiet except for her of the fridge. Emily sat in the living room doing homework, trying not to think about the doll, but no matter how hard she tried, her eyes kept flicking toward the corner when she had seen in the night before. The box was back in the attic. She had made sure for it. Yet she still felt watched. At 7:14 p.m., her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Do you still have me? Emily froze. Wrong number. She thought. She did not reply. But then another message came. I am thirsty. Her pulse quickened. She typed back. Who is this? Almost instantly the reply came. Labubu. Emily's hand shook so badly she dropped the phone onto the couch. She ran upstairs, heard hammering, and pulled the attic ladder. The box was there, right where she had left it. She tore off the lid, empty. The floral cloth by lid crumpled inside. By nightfall, the house felt different, colder. Every creak made her jump. Emily locked her bedroom, but it did not feel like enough. She pushed her desk against it too. She sat on her bed, scrolling her phone to distract himself. Then, when she heard it again, faint tapping, like porcelain feet walking across wood. It was coming from inside her walls. She pressed her ear against the drywall. The tap moved slowly, deliberately toward her closet. Emily backed away. The closet door cracked open. The doll stood inside, half hidden in the shadow. He titled at the unnatural angle. Its mouth moved. The voice was quieter now, almost a hiss. Water is not enough. The rest of night was a blur of fear. Emily did not sleep. She kept every light on watching the closet until morning. When Karen came home, Emily tried again to tell her about the doll, but her mom cut her voice. Enough, Emily. You are screening yourself. It's just an old toy. If it bothers you that much, I will donate it tomorrow. But that night, Karen woke up screaming. Emily burst into her mom's room to find her sitting up in bed, clutching her arms. Deep red scratches ran from her waist at the elbow. I dreamed something was holding me down, Karen said, shaking. But when I woke up, the doll was on my chest. Emily's mouth went dry. You believe me now? Karen did not answer. She just got up, grabbed the doll from the bed, and threw it into the hall. They decided to get rid on it in the morning. At sunrise, they drove to local thrift store. The man at the counter eyed the doll strangely when Karen set it down. Where did you get this? He asked. My sister's house. Karen replied. It's old, we just don't want it. The man hesitated, then shrugged. Fine, I will put it in the back. Emily exhaled in relief as they left, but that night relief turned to horror. At exactly 3:15 a.m., Emily woke to a cold drop of water hitting her forehead. She sat up, looked toward the foot on the bed, and froze. The Labubu doll sat there, dress dripping wet, its lip parted in a faint smile. It whispered in that some broken voice, You cannot give me away. Karen was on the phone with the thrift store first thing the next morning. Yes, I am calling about a doll I dropped off yesterday. What do you mean you don't have? You never even put it out on the floor. Emily watched her from the kitchen table, her stomach tightening with every word. Karen hung up, pale. They said they left in the room back, but this morning it was gone. The door of the room was locked all night. Emily swallowed hard. It did not walk back here. It's something else. Karen rubbed her temples. We are not talking about this is middle of the day. Emily. Well, we will figure it out. But her voice was hollow, like she did not believe her own words. But evening, the air in the house felt damp again, and the smell, faint but growing stronger. The metallic tang Emily remembered from the attic. She tried not to breathe too deeply. At 9:30 p.m., the power flickered. The lights went off, leaving the house in the heavy silence. Karen fetched a flashlight while Emily lit a candle. The warm glow did not make her feel safer. Shadows seemed too strange too far along the walls. From somewhere upstairs came a faint creak. Karen looked at her. Stay here. But Emily shook her head. Not alone. They climbed the stair together. The creak came again, this time followed by something soft, a sound like porcelain tapping against plaster. They reached the top and froze. The doll was there, halfway down the hallway, facing them. Its eyes gleamed in the flashlight beam. It had tiny, porcelain hands. It held something, a small, rusted nail. Karen whispered, "Where did it get there?" Emily heard hammered, "We have to leave now." But when they stepped back, the doll took one slow step forward, then another, and then, without warning, it was gone. Not gone like it ran away, gone like it had never been there at all. They did not sleep. Karen sat in the living room chair, clutching a kitchen knife, while Emily dozed off the couch. Sometime after midnight, Emily woke to the sound of water dripping again, but this time it was not from the ceiling. It was coming from the hallway. She got up, heart pounding, and saw the floor was vent, leading toward the basement door. Karen stared at Emily, shook her. They both grabbed flashlight and followed the trail. The basement smelled worse, the attic damp, rotting wood, and the same metallic tang. The beam of Emily's flashlight swept away the floor and stopped. The Labubu doll sat at the bottom of the stair, surrounded by a dark bubble. But this was not water, it was blood. The puddle stripped slowly, soaking into the crack in the floorboard. The doll's dress clung to the ponchial leg, stained dark red. Karen's voice shook. "This is impossible." Emily's stomach turned. "It's not blood from us. So where is it?" Before Karen could answer, the doll mouth opened wider than it should have been able to. A thin cracked, splitting up one porcelain cheek. From inside came a gurgling sound, wet and choking, like someone trying to speaking through water. And then it said, "I remember you." Karen grabbed Emily's arm and yanked her up the stair. They locked the basement door, but the sound of tapping started almost immediately. The dolls poured clean feet against wood, climbing one step at a time. They did not wait. They ran out into the rain and drove a motel to the edge of town. The clerk barely looked up as Karen paid off the room in cash. Inside, the room was small but clean. Emily collapsed on the bed, trying to slow her breathing. "We cannot just run forever," she said. "We have to know what is this." Karen stared off the window, silent for a long moment. Then she said, "Your Aunt Margaret, she she told me once, years ago, that the doll was not hers, that it was given to her by a woman who lived in the old mill house outside town. She said the woman made dolls for the dead." Emily's skin went cold. "For the dead?" Karen nodded. "Margaret said the Libubu doll was the last one she ever made, that it carrying something in it." Emily whispered, "A soul." At 3:15 a.m., the time it always come, there was a soft knock at the motel door. Three knocks, slow, deliberate. Karen mounted, "Don't answer." They sat frozen, barely breathing. The knock stopped. Emily dared to hope until she heard a sound of porcelain tapping against the tile floor inside the room. They turned toward the bathroom. The door was slightly open. The shadow of something small stood just beyond it. And then it's this same broken, wet voice. "I will find you again." The bedroom door was still half open. Inside, something dripped steadily, hitting the tile with soft, deliberating slabs. The smell, damp wood, rotting leaves, and that metallic tang of blood filled the small motel room. Emily thought was dry, her hand cold and trembling. Karen's grip on the kitchen knife was so tight her nugged and got white. From the gap in the door, the doll porcelain face appeared, titled at one side, glass eyes reflecting the dim yellow on the beside lamp. It spoke, and this time there was no brokenness at its voice. It was clear, wet, and human. A little girl voice. You took me from the river. You took me from the house. Now I will take you down. The bedroom light began to flicker. Emily stepped back, heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her ear. The doll's body emerged slowly, like it was walking but being pushed forward by something inside it. Its soaked red dress clutching to the legs, dripping steadily onto the carpet. With each drop, the floor grew darker, wetter. The carpet was no longer absorbing the water, it was sinking. Emily's bare feet felt it first, a cold, unnatural give beneath the surface, as if she were standing on a thin sheet of ice over black water. The doll took another step, and its porcelain knees cracked loudly. Karen whispered without looking away. If we break it, maybe. The doll had snapped toward her so fast it made a sharp crack. Break me. You cannot break what is not real. The light bulb above the bedroom shattered. For a moment, the room went completely dark. When the lamp flickered back on, Emily's breath caught in the throat. The doll was gone. In its place stood something taller. It was a girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, but her skin was swollen and blue, hair floating around her head like she was underwater. Her eyes were the same cloudy glass as the doll, except now they blinked, her mouth hung open slightly, water dripping from between her teeth. She smiled, and the voice that came out was not here. It was layered, one was deep and one high, in perfect unison. Labubu is hungry. The wet carpet gave way beneath Emily's feet. She dropped to her knees, her hand plugging into freezing water that was not there a second ago. Shadow moved beneath the surface, pale arms. Reaching up, she screamed and tried to pull free, but the water rose to her weight in seconds. Karen grabbed her, but the bloated girl moved fast, far too fast for something had it had. Her hand shot out, nail black and sharp, and dug into Karen's arm. Blood ran instantly down her sleeve. Karen stabbed at her with the knife, but the blade sank into water as if the girl were made of nothing solid. The wound closed instantly. The girl only smiled wider. Your blood warm. I remember warmth. The water surged up the Emily's chest. She gasped, choking on the icy flood. The room blurred not because of fear, but because she was not longer in the motel. She was underwater. Dark green light fluttered down from somewhere far above. Broken piece of furniture drifted about her. A child show floated past, and deeper below. Shadows swarmed, dozens of them, all shaped like children, their faces bloated and distorted. They circled her slowly. The girl voice echoed in the water. You belong her now. Now, one more would not be lonely. Somewhere above, muffled, Karen was screaming her name. Emily fought upward, kicking against the cold grip of hand pulling her down. She saw the doll, not the girl, but the pole cream doll, floating just above her, its mouth wide open. Inside its mouth was darkness, not hollow, infinite. The current pulled her toward it. In the last burst of panic, Emily reached for the motel's place heater on the floating nightstand. Her fingers brushing the cord, she yanked it into the water. There was no sound, only light. A blinking flash that lit the black depth and showed her the truth. The shadow beneath her were children's at all. They are empty shape, hollowed out like dolls. Each one was cracked across its face, and then silence. Emily lay couching on the motel's floor. The water was gone, the carpet was damp, but the air smelled only faintly of smoke. Karen leaned beside her, crying. They shattered doll between them. Its eyes were dull now, its dress torn, its proclaimed cold and lifeless. Neither of them spoke. They checked out before sunrise, leaving the doll remain behind in the trash. 1 week later, a boy in a neighboring town found a doll in a garbage bin behind a motel. It was cracked, its eyes cloudy, its red dress still damp. When his mom asked where he had gotten it, he smiled. It told me its name is Labubu.